Call the January 15th Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? A new item, we're going to do the roll call. Shaver,
Here.
Arndt, Christensen, Haskell,
Here.
Peak,
Here.
Toomey,
Here.
Holmes present. Moving along, are there agenda changes, additions?
We just needed to move the prosecutor right after limited public comment before the sheriff's report.
Move the agenda as amended.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. About the approval of the minutes from December 4th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from December 4th.
Motion made and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We have limited public comment. If there's somebody who wishes to address us. Don't see anyone. Next up would be our prosecutor would like to give his report.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. I am Doug Lloyd. I am your Eaton County Prosecutor. I appreciate you letting me come in today. You've seen our Chief Assistant the last few months, so I'm glad to be here with you the first of the year, and I appreciate the Sheriff letting me go first. I had another meeting I have to run to. We are on a positive note. We have total open cases at this moment are 7,272. Last month we were at 7,517. So as part of that grant that we did receive from the state, part of that money was to have reductions, and so we did see a decrease of 245 cases, while at the same point bringing in 288 new cases. We've authorized 101 of those, declined or deferred 110. Give you an idea what we had to do last month. We had hearing notices that were put out, meaning the times my people would go to court, 727 times. We were providing discovery 335 instances over 226 cases. That means we were giving it out to the defense that many times. Subpoenas, we had 39 events across 32 cases. We engaged with victims 239 times. And writs, which means writs are when we're actually bringing defendants in from other counties, 31 times over 25 cases. So busy month when you think about it. Was December with the holidays that we had in there. I expect January to actually be worse for us. I mean, not in the amount of numbers. I expect those to continue to decrease, but we're back full steam right now. Two of my attorneys are day 4 into a murder trial of a defendant who killed a 5-year-old little boy. And so we are dealing with that. That is it for me. Once again, I appreciate y'all letting us be here and letting us give the numbers out. If you have questions, I will entertain them.
Would anyone have a question for the prosecutor? Don't see any.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Have
Okay.
a wonderful month.
You too.
Next up, we would have the sheriff's report, department report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Tom Riker, Sheriff here in Eaton County. Highlights for December. This is all Delta Township. December 5th, deputies responded to a report of a breaking and entering in progress at the 4300 Saginaw. Caller stated he was viewing suspects inside the building on the security camera feed. Shortly after deputies' arrival, 2 male suspects came out walking out with copper pipes sticking out of their bag. One obeyed deputies' commands and the other one ran. They both were arrested and they were confessed to the crime. December 10th, deputies responded to a report of a felonious assault in the 5,000 block of West Willow. A male suspect had pulled a gun on a mom's boyfriend during an argument. A handgun was recovered from the house along with a 30-round magazine. The suspect was arrested and lodged at our jail. December 11th, deputies responded to a retail fraud at Kohl's. 3 female juvenile suspects stole $2,462 worth of items from Kohl's and ran to a car driven by one of their mothers. Great mom. Deputies stopped this vehicle. One of the juveniles was arrested and lodged at the youth facility as she was already on probation. The others turned over to their parents. The prosecutor's office was reviewing our warrant request for the mother who was driving the car. On December 16th, child sexual predator arrest, a male information technology worker here in this state on a visa from India who is based out of Texas and travels throughout the country doing IT work. Drove to Delta Library to have sex with a 15-year-old. The suspect was arrested when he arrived at the library. December 17th, telephone school threat at Waverly High School. Suspect called in from what appears to be a spoofed number. The suspect's voice was distorted and gave the principal a countdown to when the pipe bombs and shooting would happen. Waverly canceled school for the day. The building was searched by our canines, and we assisted in searching the building and getting the kids to the buses to go home. December 24th, deputies were attempting to arrest a male suspect on following a traffic stop. The suspect fought deputies and ran from the scene with our handcuffs on one of the wrists. When he was found in the neighborhood to the north, he ran again and was tased and arrested. He was lodged on several outstanding arrest warrants and a new charge of resisting and obstructing deputies. On the same date, we had a resisting, obstructing, and weapons violations. Deputies stopped a vehicle at Waverly and Sandhurst. When attempting to arrest the driver of the car for outstanding warrants, the driver fought and tried to flee from us. While they were fighting with the driver, a passenger fled in the car. The car was subsequently located a few blocks away. However, the second suspect had fled on foot. Deputies located a loaded handgun in the car. The original driver was lodged, and we are requesting charges on the passenger. Both deputies received minor injuries during the fight and were treated at a local hospital. December 28th, there were several traffic hazard calls related to heavy rainfall causing the drains to flood at shift change. And I'll give these deputies a lot of credit for this, for going above and beyond their call of duty. Heavy rainfall causing the drains to flood at shift change and throughout the night. A lot of these plugged drains were causing serious flooding across the entire roadway. A few of the deputies brought in muck boots and hard tine rakes and cleared out all of them to fix the issues. December 31st, deputies investigated a report of threats at Country Inn and Suites. A juvenile called and said a female was there and threatened to shoot her, and also sent a picture of a handgun. The suspect car was in front of when we arrived. The adult driver had a pistol, but had a concealed pistol license. The front passenger had a gun in his waistband and was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. The juvenile female was in the back seat of the car, and another gun was found there. She was arrested and lodged at the youth center for felonious assault since she made the threats to our victim and arrived in a car with multiple guns. We assisted MSP on the same date. MSP was dispatched to a shooting at 415 William Durfee, that's just south of Eaton Rapids. Caller reported that a 16-year-old female was shot in the knee and foot. The accused shooter was a 20-year-old male who was still at the house with a gun and was threatening to shoot himself. Deputy Studley and Captain Block went to assist. While en route, MSP was sent to another call for a man with a gun in Vermontville and Gunnell, and had no cars available because of the shooting on William Durfee. At MSP request, a couple of deputies went to this man with a gun call in Vermontville and Gunnell. There was a large party there, but at the time there were no victims or anyone saying that anyone had a gun. About an hour later, a female victim called and said she believes she was shot at that location. MSP is, MSP is investigating both incidents. That is it. One last note I'd like to make. As a sheriff here in Eaton County, I'm glad that after 3 long years of waiting, our emergency command vehicle has arrived. It's on our county premises right now, and we're proud to have this vehicle where it can do a lot of work for not only a luxury for the sheriff's office, but also other departments, that's including Potterville, Charlotte, Eaton Rapids, Olivet, Bellevue, Grand Ledge. So it's a tool that we can be utilized fully. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Sheriff, I reached out to your office earlier this week, and I know you're busy, but I wanted to request a meeting to discuss Maple Valley Schools' needs concerning safety and response. I'm aware that there are many ways that will not work to make sure that that school is safe, but I'd like to discuss a few that might, because I don't think we can accept no for an ultimate answer. We can look at that together. I've been told that this isn't our responsibility, collectively as a community, but I reject that notion. I think the safety of our schools, students, and staff are all of our concern. I understand that some of the solutions for Maple Valley imminently may not directly include the sheriff's department. However, you already know I'm working with you towards the day that they can, and I'm hoping that can be very soon in my district. I'm asking that you would step with me to the middle of that situation and help me find a solution that can work for our students and staff for the remainder of this school year. This will provide stakeholders, including you and I, an opportunity to assist with a longer-term plan for school safety that would include Eaton County deputies and provide a better response for them, as well as a school resource officer. I look forward to a meeting and hope we can do it as soon as possible so we can make that school as safe as it can be.
Okay, I don't have my calendar with me. You'll have to contact my office and speak with Jerry. She can put it on my calendar and we can speak.
I did, but I will again. Thank you.
You bet.
Are there any questions for the sheriff? I don't see any question. Oh, okay, Commissioner Haskell.
Hi, Sheriff Frank, thanks for your report. I know early on in the report you mentioned a couple gentlemen that were breaking in and stealing copper out of an office or a home or something. I know that was during the recession of 2008 through 2010 or whatever, that was quite common. I'm curious if you're seeing, with the economy, a little bit more shaky, are you starting to see more copper theft, homes like that out of our buildings?
I don't think this was a home.
Yeah.
I think it was the demolition at the old school there in West Saginaw. I think is that the 4300 block? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure either if it's a home or I'm guessing it's that place because they're demolishing that building right now.
Oh, okay.
But no, I have not seen an increase in copper thefts. Our retail frauds, shoplifting if you want to call it, at local retail establishments in Delta Township are pretty much the same. We had an upswing in Christmas time, we do every year.
Right.
But it continues in Delta Township. These people commit crimes, and they need to get them off the street.
Yeah.
That's my bottom line.
Yeah.
They don't belong on the street if they're going to steal in Delta Township or Eaton County.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I know these crimes tend to spike when times get a little bit more tough too. So I'm curious to watch that trend and see if we can learn anything from it. Thanks, Tom.
All right, you bet.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Can we move on to Sheriff's Office B? Is someone gonna address that? Any comments on the Windsor Township Police Services Agreement?
We can team up, yeah. Do you want to do an intro?
No, go ahead, Ben.
Before you is a Windsor Township agreement that we've worked closely with the Sheriff's Department and the Windsor Township Board. I believe they're having a meeting today where they're evaluating this very same agreement. As you'll notice, this is different from the prior contract we had with them in that this parallels the same structure we had with Delta Township. It has the one deputy, which has historically been what we've had in partnership with the township, but it has a charge for command services to equalize, even though they don't have enough deputies in this contract to pay for their own command staff, they will pay a portion, and that's the model that we're presenting to other communities interested in contracting with the county going forward. It has a SIM provision for a one-time MERS payment that is credited back to them over a 10-year period. It is a 3-year contract over a 10-year cycle for that MERS piece, but if either party needs to cancel it, there's the 3-year out built into it. Other than that, it's a culmination of where we are today versus how we contracted a year ago. I think this is a viable model that we're going to be working with other commissioners too, that they can go to their districts and present modeling of what could work if multiple communities want to team up to help restore some coverage in other parts of the county. I think that's it. Oh, there was one addition I made, one correction I made. The first draft that went up live said that the one deputy would provide 365 24/7 coverage. I want to correct that. The county has no expectation that one person could fully provide 365 coverage, so we have updated that section to be what it is, which is coverage as available with one full-time deputy.
Move the resolution.
Moved and supported. We have comment from Commissioner Arndt.
Well, when I looked at scrolled through the agreement as written, I was checking to see the numbers seemed a little off because when Oneida Township municipal government was, the numbers they received for the pension and per annum were higher than the numbers that are in the document for Windsor.
Yeah, so there are two pieces to that. One, Oneida has never contracted for a full deputy. So first off, we had an overtime contract. So when we went to put this together, it was a little bit different for Windsor, who's always paid full rate for one deputy. So when we proposed and had a meeting with the supervisor of Oneida, what we showed was if we could get other communities to come on board, this is what a 25% portion of a deputy would look like. At the time we were negotiating with Windsor, we had a deputy in that spot. So it was actual costs of their health insurance, their pay rate. If it's a vacant position, it's budgeted at worst case scenario. If not worst case, but if we recruit somebody who's higher up on the pay scale, they cost more. If we recruit somebody who has a family, full family coverage, their health insurance is more. So the variation you see is just the health insurance election of the employee at the time. Does that answer your question?
So it's a worst-case scenario for hiring to fill a vacancy as opposed to funding something that's already present.
Exactly. And this is built with the same actual cost structure. So for instance, if we get under contract with Oneida and it's budgeted at the top rate and we end up filling it with somebody fresh out of the academy who is on their parents' insurance, when we actually reconcile back, Oneida would get a credit for that difference because we've built these contracts to be, we budget once a year, these are the costs, and then at the end of the year, we reconcile to make sure that communities are paying for what it actually was at the end. Yep. And we are still working, I know last that spoke with the supervisor, we are still open to communities coming together. So if the desire is out there for Oneida and they say have the ability to pay 20% or 25%, you know, for other groups that are interested in police service coverage, like that is where these partnerships start. People start having discussions and saying, okay, well, if you need them for a day, you do 25%, I can pick up 50%, and that's gonna give me 2 days, right? And then the sheriff and the sheriff's department would work structurally. What is that? Is that an employee on 10s? How do we do that with 12s, right? Sheriff would love to have the dilemma of figuring out how to structure that person's schedule. So that would be the word, is there are communities that are interested in partnering, and I think Oneida wants to be a partner with that.
That's what we've been told with.
Yeah.
Commissioner Haskell, your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for the command structure being only one, it doesn't need to have the full command structure that the Delta contract has. But who would this officer be reporting to within a command structure?
Yep, so when we did the budget process, it's currently vacant right now. but we retained one sergeant for contractual services, and that was going to be subject to what kind of interest we had. Currently, Lieutenant Dahlgren is fulfilling that role in the absence of, but if we're able to structure some other community contracts out in the community, that sergeant is something that they would like to fill and keep busy. And then everybody who contracts for a deputy will pay a portion of that salary. So if we're able to get enough contractual support, the position will pay for itself.
Okay, yeah, and that's, I guess that was, kind of leads into my follow-up question is, for this sergeant command, what is the capacity that they can have underneath them? Like, obviously, it's more than one in Windsor or one in Oneida, but like, how many communities could they have underneath them?
I
Want to answer that as
Yeah,
far
that's-
as what he requires as command per officer? How many officers under one command?
Right, one command. I mean, until we get a contract, I think it might be something that we'll look at closer, what else we can put them in.
Sure.
So let's get this contract first, then we can start discussing what the sergeant's gonna do besides that one deputy.
Sure, yeah. I guess I'm trying to, think and have the wheels turn in the back of my mind for these SROs that, typically we would have asked to have a command structure for, even though they're, Maple Valley may be nowhere near Windsor, could they share a command?
Yeah, so in discussions that we've had with the sheriff, and again, he's the expert in this, and his command staff, but there's a different level of command when you have one officer working a certain number of hours than it is when you have a full county patrol and you have full Delta. Obviously, your needs are greater. A lot of the officers are able to handle things that a command officer may have to handle. It's just the way that their training has gone, if it's something that's simple, or it can wait to talk to a command officer. So the ratio is better in a situation like that because the assignment's not large, right? It's not a whole big assignment like Delta Township is. So that's something that he'll work on. And then they'll have to manage that as they go along to make sure that the needs are being met. Again, liability is a large issue, so the sheriff will work on that. But does that answer your question? And Sheriff, did I mess anything up?
No, I think it is for the most part, yeah.
Okay. Is that okay, Sheriff, what I said?
Good.
Okay.
I see another question, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we can use this as a template for any other township in Eaton County that would like to have road patrol?
Absolutely, yeah. And so by request, Commissioner Shaver, I'm putting together like a model where you can see what it looks like if 4 communities come together to like pay for coverage. I think the scale Mr. Shaver wanted to see displayed would be what it would be for a quadrant of the county to restore 24/7 coverage. But that can be pared down to a single deputy, to 2 deputies, to 3. Because this model right now is scalable, and if we get so much interest that the sheriff's like, I'm gonna need another sergeant, that would be discussions we'd come and have with the board. But I think at this time, we're just kind of putting it out there. This is just what the model looks like, and it is open for business.
Okay. And should a township choose to have road patrol 24 hours a day, it would just 3 times this amount?
Hi, Sheriff.
Pretty much. Well, it depends. If you're working 12-hour shifts, then I'm gonna need, for one deputy to cover all those for 24/7, probably 4 or 5. And then you're gonna have a sergeant for each one of those shifts. So you have to have another 4 or 5 sergeants.
So they
It's
can't
gonna be
take
tough.
this for that. This is for a single shift, whatever coverage is covered here in writing. Okay, thank you.
That's why, again, speak about Delta's contract, that's why Delta's contract is so much. They added command staff and deputies, so it increased the cost of it. I did want to note one other thing, and I don't think I told you, Sheriff, and I'm sorry, but I did receive an email from Waverly Schools, and we'll be talking to them in the next 2 weeks. Their contract expires in July, so they have an officer assigned. We'll meet with them. We've let them know that the cost will go up Obviously, they're watching too. So Ben is putting together that proposal for them so they can review and hopefully get something settled for them the next, before July, right? So they know they can have them in there. And, you know, it's all dependent on whether they have grant funding and what the increase to their school budget is, but I feel comfortable that we'll be able to come to that, but it's more because they already have that existing officer in there and they have the grant funds.
And when I put that one together, Delta will provide the command as part of that contract, so we'll show why that's credited, so it will be
different.
clear for any other groups, but that's probably, if you're, that was one of the things Delta said is an impediment to coverage for school in our district, like, we would want to put the resources up to make sure that that's not an impediment, which other communities could do if they wanted to pay the command surcharge to make sure another school's covered. Like, those are some of the things that we could talk about, which I think when you sit down and have those discussions, it's easier to get to that place.
Any other discussions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. Next up, we have number 8 is trial courts report.
Jeremy Mulvaney, Director of the Youth Facility, wanted to come up and talk, or if the court wants to come up and talk in general. We have a proposal that's in the packet for medical services for the youth facility. And if you read it, the youth facility has utilized the health department, which we have not been able to do for a number of years. It creates an issue. I always mention liability because it does, especially when you're talking about kids. We have a jail medical services contract, but the doctor that handles that cannot deal with children based on his licensing. So, we did try that, but Jeremy has done a lot of work to find someone that's willing to do it. And what it ends up being is you're paying a certain dollar amount, and then you're paying for their malpractice insurance, which we need to do because we need to make sure that that insurance is sufficient enough for the facility. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's kind of a long and drawn-out story. I'll make it as brief as possible, but since COVID, we haven't had any medical services or providers that have been able to come into our building. Historically, we've always had a nurse that's come in at least once a week. The state of Michigan, for kids that come into our building, they do require us to get these kids a physical within 7 days. That's part of our licensing. To do that now, we have to take these kids securely in a secure transport out into the community to an urgent care, which we've worked out services through them. And does it work? Yes. Is it a safety and security issue, a liability issue? Absolutely. We're taking staff out of the building to do that. We're also putting kids in handcuffs and shackles, other types of mechanical restraints out into the community, which can be a humiliating thing for them, which shouldn't be necessary. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. If we utilize, depending on the youth and their level of security, we might need 2 staff. So again, we're spending a lot of time, we're spending a lot of effort. When we have the space in our building, we've always had a nursing station in our building. We just need somebody to come in and do that. So we have worked this out with a doctor that's willing to do this. He's willing to do this for significantly below market value. He's looking to do some outreach. So it's definitely a win-win for Eaton County, for the youth facility, for this doctor and his practice. So really all we need is to put together what the contract might look like, get the support of the board, and once we have all that in place, then it looks like we can make this work. So happy to answer questions, get into more details. If there are questions surrounding that, please feel free to fire away.
Are there any questions? See Commissioner Haskell and Commissioner Peak.
Thank you. Looking over this, I knew there had to be quite a story of like the challenge it was to find this person. So thank you for the background. You mentioned that the doctor is doing this for below market value and wants to do some outreach. Like what kind of outreach are you referring to?
So for his practice, he works at a clinic, and his clinic encourages all of the practicing doctors to do some type of community work. And so when I first talked to him, that was something that he expressed an interest in working. He's actually done past work in mental hospitals and juvenile facilities, so it's an area that he actually enjoys working in. So when we started talking, he just asked to come out and take a tour of our facility and sit down and talk. And it's just an area of real passion for him. So it just seemed to fit.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Commissioner Peak, did you have a question still?
Yeah, it was kind of more along the lines of like how we came to this particular doctor. Was there any other ones that you looked at or talked to, or is this the only option?
I have reached out to, I can't even give you a number, but traveling medical services, traveling nursing services, I've reached out to more doctors locally and services than I could ever even begin to express. This has been about a 5 or 6 year search on my end, and I get the same answer every time. Usually people are interested in having a conversation, but when they realize the scope is less than what they would like for it to be, because we don't have a need for somebody to be there 2 days a week, 8 hours a day, it's just not necessary, then they typically back out. Or when they find out that they need to provide some type or some level of insurance or something, there's always a reason, but we usually get left standing at the altar, so to speak. So we've had this discussion with a lot of providers, and it always ends the same. So I'm hopeful this won't end that way. It seems I'm very optimistic, and he seems very determined, so it looks good.
Any other questions? Commissioner Christensen.
Hi, thank you for that. I have a quick question. So this Dr. Goldstein are they a DO, MD?
DO.
Okay. And does it have to be, is there something stipulating that it has to actually be a DO or MD? Could it be a nurse practitioner or a PA?
It could be, yes, as long as they have the proper medical licensing. It could even be a standard nurse, but they have to be under a doctor. So, yes, I mean, there's other options, but he is a DO, which works out really good for other things. He could be a stopgap for prescriptions if we need them. So I think having it at that level does provide some more advantages for us.
Okay.
But yes,
Okay. Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Are there other questions? Oh, go ahead.
I'll just say it's also really difficult. Like he said, he had talked to different traveling nurses, and it's not something that they want to do. The sheriff could speak to that. It's very difficult to try to get a full-time employee or a part-time employee. Thankfully, we've been really lucky in the jail to have somebody who stayed on as a temporary nurse, and we have a full-time RN. It's just been, you're really lucky if you get it, and if we have something, to lose it would be scary. So this is one for me that makes me feel a lot more comfortable to have a medical doctor in here. Things are rough right now in the facility or any facility.
Thank you, commissioners.
This is listed as a proposal. Is this actually contract, agreement, or?
No, so we wanted the framework of what we're asking for to come before you. Next month, we will bring a contract and the cost, because I have to have the medical malpractice insurance evaluated.
Okay, thank you. I guess we're moving on to number 9, Central Dispatch.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Francis DeVeteran, the Deputy Director at Eaton County 911. I have your monthly report, and I'm in Kelly's absence. She is at a conference, and she is learning lots right now. So we had, for training, we had telecommunicator Nolan Brown attended a introduction to fire services at Oakland Community College. Telecommunicator Dan Lalone, which is one of our new hires, attended a 40-hour advanced dispatch school, which we actually held in our building in the EOC. There is two 40-hour classes that are required by the state of Michigan for all dispatchers to have. There's 40-hour basic and 40-hour advanced dispatch. And the second half of that is advanced, and we held that in the basement. He attended there. And then we're still continuing to help the Mid-Michigan Police Academy at LCC with communications as part of their police academy. So we go and provide them with the radios that we use and all of the police departments use in this area. So they have familiarization with the radio system and the radios while they're training at the police academy. Some of our projects or technology we're working on, we are working on increasing our radio encryption. That is a FBI requirement. We have to go from one type of encryption to another type of encryption. We're currently in the process of doing that. Working on CAD to CAD with a product called Unify. It's part of Central Square, which is our CAD vendor, to be able to send, CAD is what we use to enter calls. It's computer-aided dispatch, what we use to enter calls. So we would be able to communicate with surrounding counties and dispatch centers without having to pick up the phone. We did some events and exercises. We helped with the Grand Ledge Christmas Parade, the Eaton Rapids Christmas Parade, and then we actually participated in the Potterville Christmas Parade. We do have one applicant in the background process. We held oral board interviews in the end of just before Christmas, and we had some really good applicants. We have one open position right now, so we are one away from having all of our positions filled, and we do have one in backgrounds. She's doing very well. And then we have 3 on a hiring list. Should other positions open up, we do have a pretty good hiring list there. I mentioned Dan Lalone. He just finished training, so he is completely finished with the training program and is on his own. He worked today. And we are working on yearly evaluations right now. A couple other things Kelly wanted me to touch on is the no preference record policy. I know that's been quite a bit of work she's put into that. It has gone on to the legal counsel for a full review, and next month Kelly will be bringing the policy to this board for consideration. And then the annual report for 2025, Kelly is hoping to have that completed by next month. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Would there be any questions for his report?
Can I know one other thing?
Yeah,
You don't
sure.
mind? We received, actually, Chairman Holmes and Chairman Mott received an email thanking Central Dispatch for assisting Calhoun County. They had an employee who passed away, and it was Francis, Libby Howland, and Brian Jones who went over there to help them, so they were able to take the time to grieve. And that's just great cooperation, and it's commending the department for the work that they do and alleviating that stress.
Thank you very much. That worked out very well. They share a lot of the same systems that we use, so it was relatively seamless to go down there and just kind of pick up, which a lot of counties around us don't share the same technology. We're lucky that Calhoun does. So, but that's one of the things that I mentioned on here with the CAD to CAD, to be able to take different technologies together and be able to help each other out, because just like every other service in the country right now, people are struggling. So anything we can do to help, we're happy to do that. So.
You mentioned surrounding counties. Beyond the surrounding ones, how many in Michigan would be on that CAD system?
So it gets a little difficult when you go beyond surrounding counties, because there's a lot of geography that
Oh, yeah.
Eaton County dispatchers may not be familiar with. So if we start talking further away than surrounding counties, you have to be very careful with, we say in our business that location is the most important thing. We can't send help if we don't know where you are. And if we start taking calls, say in Alpena County, and we're not used to the geography there or the technicalities, it makes things very difficult. So we're gonna start with surrounding counties. Whether the technology exists to do it or not, it probably does, but we'll start with the area that we're familiar with to help our surrounding partners.
Sure, yeah, thank you. On to Delta Township, their next point. Are you going, was there a question for?
So with the CAD to CAD, that would allow, like, if Berry County was having a significant incident, it would allow you guys to offer support to them
Correct.
if they were being inundated with calls locally.
Absolutely, that's one aspect. Say we get a major storm event that affects a county but does not affect us, and their overflow is coming into our county, which often happens. We could take their calls, enter the information, and transfer the call to them without having to have them answer another phone call. It would just go to their.
Excellent, excellent, thank you.
Now, any other questions about his report? So moving on to the Delta Township Alert System, are you going to speak to that or somebody else?
If you want to stay up there, we can do it
I will stay
together.
right here.
All right. So I'll just talk about the contract, and then Francis is really good about the particulars. And it's been ongoing discussions between the county and Delta Township. Delta Township having a full-time fire department and 33% of the population up there, their fire needs are unique. And as such, they've sought an alert system that kind of addresses their local population needs. And this agreement you see before you is work we've been doing about how do we get the county's current setup that we provide to all our fire services to a place where it can integrate with the alert system that Delta has procured. So there's been a partial implementation of the Delta system. We're at the point where we have to have a CAD integration, actually, is what we're looking at here. And there are other elements where we broke the scope of the project into phase 1 and phase 2. At this junction, we are only moving and requesting movement for phase 1. And then phase 2 is something that if we launch later, if Delta wants to, they just pay out of pocket for the expenses incurred in order to launch the service. In the future, if other full-time fire departments working through, what's the name of the committee? It's
Fire EMS Committee.
in the Fire EMS Committee that Central Dispatch has, where it meets with the chiefs and has these discussions. If there's an adoption there where other communities come on board, the county and the board would have the option to take that up. If you do, then we would switch off of this being a Delta service that they're paying for to the county picking it up. If that happens within 5 years, there's a mechanism that will refund some of their year 1 costs back, but it's prorated. So if it happens in year 3, they'll get the last 2 years prorated back type of a thing. But if nobody does, then it will just be the scope that Delta requests, since they would be the community receiving the service differences. And the particulars about it, you're probably much better at articulating than me.
I'd be happy to answer any question anyone has about the actual product, but.
Commissioner Shaver, you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Assistant Director DeVetter, I love technological advances, and I've been involved in emergency services since 1997, so probably know more than anybody else that would be on the board, although I think we all really appreciate the work that your department does there. Emergency services wouldn't really exist well without dispatch, because to your point, no one can go where help is needed unless they know where it is. And I love the technological advances that have happened over the last, let's say, 5-6 years. Did this idea originate from dispatch, or is this something that Delta?
This is very much a fire-based product. It is a lot for the health and wellness of the firefighters.
Okay.
And I think that's what their internal, their union, their firefighters, their officers, they wanted a product that what this actually does is control all the lights, speakers, it's station alerting. So they wanted a product that was healthier for their firefighters, and this was very much a Delta Fire project.
Okay, all right. I like the integration. Is there positive or negative effects that this gonna have on dispatch or the county?
So I would say we are not gonna, the difficulty that we have and what we've run into, some of the hurdles we've run into with this project is we try not to do things for one. It's very difficult in a dispatch environment that dispatches for 13 fire departments to do something that's unique for one department.
Sure.
So our policy for the boots on the ground dispatcher, your frontline dispatcher, is not going to change very much. The major benefit for Delta Township in this is there's a direct IP connection to their stations where they're going to get information immediately and very fast, because it's going to go right out of the computer CAD system directly into their stations and alert them. Probably faster, I mean, undoubtedly faster than a human can do because of the technology. However, the type of fire departments that we have in this county varies greatly. I am the chief of one that runs 225 calls a year, where Delta Township is running 8,000 plus. So there's a very wide variation in how fire departments operate. So, to a dispatcher, a fire call is a fire call. So that's where we have to tread lightly with that. So I don't see any major policy changes at this time for dispatch, but it does increase the speed in which they get information to their station.
I like that. I know specifically how experienced your dispatchers are and what service they provide to our county, and I don't think most people realize that. I just personally was a little bit concerned how potentially dual procedures, which I'm not aware of, right, in detail, but dual procedures might affect dispatch time, whether it would be to Delta Township. I know there's a lot of I'm on Charlotte Fire. I know like 25% of our calls are at the same time. So like you guys are doing both of those as well as the rest of the county. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't feel like this was going to create delays or force errors that wouldn't likely be otherwise without it.
No, I appreciate that concern. That's something that I was very passionate about as well. And I think we will keep our operation as continuous as it's been, and still get Delta Township what they're looking for in their station.
Great. Thank you.
And that was definitely a topic of discussion too. I'll just add in as well. So we did include a $10,000 training piece for the development of the procedures and then the training. And in terms of physical infrastructure, we'll have a large flat screen dedicated just to the Delta system there. But we certainly shared those sensitivities, and it was really productive discussions too with the township. In fact, Kelly's taking the feedback from this process and incorporating it into that committee. So in the future, like it would be that we try to do through that committee beforehand, just so that other communities can jump in at the same time.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, I just wanted to ask the questions. Those are straight from me. I do represent 4 different fire departments and fire chiefs in my district. They might have their own thoughts about it. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't putting you guys under an undue tax that was going to create an issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more questions. I entertain a motion to accept this.
I'll make, one note, and this is a ways consideration, but this contract has a 10% admin fee instead of 15%, so it will need a 2/3 override at the final junction, and partially because it's a minimal phase, it's about a $15,000 contract, so that's in there. But I did notice the emergency purchase section accidentally says 5%, so I will be amending the admin fee in that spot to be 10%, which was the intention, and a minimum of $500 a year. The last Appendix A is where it breaks down what that actually looks like. Thank you.
So we still have motion and support for that information. And so we pass this, vote on and pass it to the Ways and Means then.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on next to the Emergency Management Report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I will be brief, just largely a meeting-heavy information sharing month last month. You know, a lot of discussion and preparation and development over the course of different intermediate and long-term projects that we're going to continue to work on. But just a couple of things that I did want to highlight. We have implemented our multi-year strategic plan, that 2-year plan that kind of measures 5 goals, 17 objectives, dozens of different milestones that we're going to work on over the course of the next year. One of the things that we've always, thought about incorporating for the last few years and just haven't done it, but now to show you and the public, how we're measuring against those objectives and goals, we're going to show you that by actually implementing an annual report. So while we won't have one for 2025, you'll start seeing that over the course of 2026, 2027, and even going forward as we implement new multi-year strategic plans to show you again how we're measuring against those goals, objectives, and milestones. Against a whole host of different things that we want to complete over the lifespan of the plan. So you'll see that starting next year. The other thing you heard me last month talk about, the FEMA Review Council, a lot of emergency managers across the nation on pins and needles about what that was going to look like. That meeting was supposed to be held December 12th. Was canceled at about the 11th hour. And we haven't really heard much beyond that about what things are going to look like. It is my understanding that there were 5,000 registrants for this Federal Advisory Committee Act body to actually participate within that meeting, and it's my understanding too that that's the largest number of registrations ever for an FACA body. So that's just kind of interesting, and the interest is there to see what things are going to look like going forward, because that's going to trickle down obviously to the state level and even down to the local level as well. And in our world, disaster management methodology, disasters are locally executed, state managed, and federally supported. So we need those federal partners. We need the programs that they can provide, the firepower of marshaling different resources down through the governor, down here to the local entities. So that way we can make things or remedy problems, fix problems, all those kind of things. So I'll continue to update you as we see what that's going to look like going forward. But I just don't have a report on that right now. But very eager to see, as well as many of my colleagues across the nation are too, to see what that's going to look like for us. But I'm happy to entertain any questions. That's just a couple things that I wanted to emphasize for today.
So any questions for him about his report? Short report, no questions, you're good.
Thank you. Yep.
Next, we have number 12, miscellaneous. Are there any miscellaneous items for us?
Nope.
Don't see any. Limited public comment. If anyone wishes to address the board, the committee? Nobody I see. We will adjourn.